AC off. That's probably what you're hearing is heavy breathing.
And here's Warren. Okay, Paul. And do you give a tip? Do you give a tip before you eat? A tip? I don't quite get that one, Paul. I only tip them if they actually do good service. It's not like America where it's expected to tip people. And Benja, g'day, Dilbo. I don't know if he's still there. He says he's drunk. He wanted me to start early again. I know it's just one of those things. Respect your loyal friends, he said. Chris Brand, how you going? Look, I've done over 100 of these streams now, so that's almost 2 years of live streaming, is that right?
Hello, Benja. Good to see you. Or hear you, or see you typing.
See you typing, yeah. Yes, I've done these streams for over 2 years now. I think it's it's something that's I think expected of me. Like this morning, we had 9-10 people waiting. It's always good to see. Excuse me.
That's 9 people with nothing better to do.
9 people with nothing better to do.
Poor people. See what a lockdown does. It's like,
I know.
Increases your listenership.
This is the state of the nation now with COVID as being as part of life now. We're going to deal with it. Oh my God.
You know, that's a good point. I wonder how many more people are watching YouTube these days.
Well, I think there was a study done. They said that YouTube's viewership, along with other, like they said, there's been a 30% increase in the view times over the last 2 years. I think was the figure. Just people are watching more and more YouTube, and that's outside the normal trend of people's, obviously broadband watching, rather than sort of tuning into live TV. There's the definite statistics that there has been a definite increase. And I think some numbers were speculated at 20 to 30%. And of course, whoever's doing the data collection can skew that anyway. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. That's what we've got. We've got the new normal. So here we are in Thailand. They can't even make up their mind whether the expats can actually get vaccinated or not in their vaccine rollout, which hasn't started, by the way. Right. Actually, there were some numbers I already had on screen already. Where are we? Photos. Let's go there. So I think it was.
I'm recovering from my second shot, so.
You're still recovering. What have I got here? Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. So this this thing, foreigners to get equal access.
Mayor Grove, how you doing?
Hey, Robert Groves, g'day. Bars are not open in Bangkok at all. That's it. They've just extended the lockdown the lockdown you have when they're not having a lockdown. They've just extended that another week to the 17th or something like that. Here's the numbers. Yeah, so they've been rolling out this vaccine since early February, since 28th of February. It's got there. How many people have had first dose? 1.1 million of the Sinovac and 860,000 of the AstraZeneca or Zeneca. Second dose, 450 and 16. So, second dose. We haven't even reached 500,000 people here in Thailand in March.
Fully vaccinated yet.
In 3 months that are fully vaccinated.
What? So what seems interesting is, so if you look at the full number of Thailand, it looks really crappy, but it seems like they might be concentrating on Phuket, at least from one of the sources that I've seen. Maybe they're really trying to get that, July 1st, and they're basically putting all of that in the Phuket bag. I forget where I saw that, but I saw like the percentage of vaccinations in Phuket was like 20% or something crazy. But I could be off.
Well, I'm not getting a very good picture on that one there. They had some of PopeKael, total vaccines administered by province to date. Bangkok, we've got 1% of the population in Bangkok had first dose.
Yeah, look at Phuket, 22%.
Yeah, 22%. But as I said, they want to have 70% vaccinated before July, was it July 1 when they wanted to open? But come on, it's the middle of May already. They got 6 weeks to do it. There's just no way. There is no way they are going to open. It's a joke. It really is. I don't know. Like I said, they're a bunch of incompetent fools. They really are. Big W, g'day. How you doing? Warren Thurrock, g'day. How you doing? Yes, it is a bit of a sad situation we've got here in sort of Thailand. All I can say is, like, I don't like this to get political, but this just looks like a bag of incompetence. They started rolling out. If you see this thing, they started rolling out in Phuket. Then all of a sudden, it just flatlines. What? So, but why didn't it keep on going out? At least Bangkok keeps on going up. I think what happened is this is when it's flatlines here because they just redirected the vaccines to Bangkok because of this outbreak in Bangkok. Right, there's three hot zones.
Oh, that's a good point. That's actually a good point with that data. Yeah, so they were trying to get the Phuket thing going, and then Bangkok happened, so they redirected everything to Bangkok.
So I got this. There is this little Line app. If I can find it again. Oh my God. Unfortunately, I can't show you once. I can't show you. Signor Whippy, g'day. Yeah, away. There's this thing online called Away COVID. You probably can't see it because it's pretty small on my screen. But I can probably do. Yeah, wants to know your current location. Yes, whatever. Come on, hurry up. Update. And what I want to do is just give you an idea. It shows you my location, and if I screenshot that, right, and go there, minimize that, go to here, go to my image, and if I refresh that screen, then I can go over here, and then I can refresh that screen. Oh, come on. I just refreshed it. Hurry up. There it is. So yeah, so that's us over here in Omnoi. In the map reference. These are the hot zones here in Bangkok. So Bangkok, Pratunthani, and Northamburi. I've been told and corrected. It's non-Taburi. Non-Taburi. I can't get that right. Yingwei the pagan. I hope the drug companies release the intellectual patents so Thailand can manufacture vaccines. Well, that's already been rejected in Europe already. So there's a push that I read about, and I think Oggy brought it to my attention earlier this week. They're trying to get the patent removed from these vaccines. But
that's in the U.S.
Yeah, but of course the EEC have flatly refused it. Basically, they just come out and just said, no, it's not going to happen. So, yeah, the whole thing is a political joke. It really is. But yes, this is all that. So I think what was happening in Phuket, they just redirected all the vaccines into Bangkok because of this outbreak we got in Bangkok. That's all I can think of there. But yeah, it's an absolute joke. We did this week. Chanya and I sort of got our renewed our. Where is it in my bag? Should put it on in my. Yeah. So this is, like that was last year's, and now we've got this year's. These are our COVID-19 insurance. So if we did catch it, we covered under medical care, and they will pay all the hospital bills. Because we've got insurance. Not many people are doing the insurance route, but nothing worse than being coming late. We actually put mother on the policy as well, so no point having two people in the house and not the third person. So that covers us as well, but not many people are even thinking about doing that. What do we got? Vaccines are all. That's yeah, Liam. Yeah. It's just politics. I've been watching a series called For All Mankind, which really plays on this, bipartisan sort of attitude of, and everybody's against everybody else. The Russians versus the Americans. Americans versus Americans. The Americans versus the rest of the world. The Australian government I don't know what I have no idea what the Australian government are doing. That's right, yeah. We've got a Prime Minister in Australia who is trying to sort of preach to the converted the fact that Hillsong and his little church oh my God, doing God's work, right? There is something specifically in our constitution in Australia that the separation of church and state. There is a definite listing and line item in our constitution. It should never become anyway. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure these politicians we elect never actually bothered reading the constitution anyway. So, but yeah, such is life. Bill Gates said no way, he needs more billions. What was a funny one I had? Let me see if I can find it. I've got to do my just for fun. Where is it? That's right, that one there. Open. Here we go. This. So what's the plan? Simply, you delete the post and I'll delete the people. I thought that was funny. I got a sick sense of humour. This whole COVID thing is a bloody mess. It's like this. It's just like the CCP intended, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like we hear nothing about the problems in like how China seems to be dealing with it all right. Well, from what we see from the numbers, but whether those numbers are accurate or not is anybody's guess. But yeah, it is one of those sort of things. It is what it is. The worst situation is we've got South Africa and we've got India. They've just lost the plot. It has completely just gone ballistic in those countries. I think I read this week the fact that Thailand is prohibiting any inbound flights from India whatsoever. So even Indian manufacturing has been prohibited from landing in Thailand. Goods trans, like the freight. That's been prohibited as well, from what I understand. So basically, they're not taking any chances of the Indian strain here, and they're trying to repatriate Thais. They're trying to get people out of India, Thai nationals out of India, which is presenting to be a problem as well. It's crazy shit we've got to deal with. Bill Gates giving medical advice is like him giving marriage advice. Exactly, Will. Interesting. I think I read today was it 2.6 billion in stock assets was transferred to Melinda this week. Exactly what that was all about. It's anybody's guess. Virus spread has got to be weather-related, seasonal. Well, there was a lot of discussion about that last year. The data that we're seeing doesn't seem to present a sort of solid case, but the numbers have kept down here in Thailand for a few reasons, because we have a predominantly high sort of case of mask wearing. But it's unfortunate. G'day, Tim. But what we've had recently, this outbreak we've got in in Bangkok itself. It started with high-so parties, sharing hookah pipes and all that sort of stuff. You know how these sort of things go. The susha pipes and shared drinks and mingling and kissing and hugging and party environments in the well-to-do high-so set. Somebody from Cambodia, or somebody recently visited Cambodia, came back, started partying, went through to, met with the DJs. These DJs go from venue to venue, and then within sort of 3 to 5 days, the whole thing just completely went off the chart. But not only that, is the fact that would have been containable, if they had identified it early. But unfortunately, at these parties, you have the lower class set, who are the waiters and waitresses of these parties. And of course they got infected, then took it back to places like the slums, like Klong Toi, which is on the river, just down from Sukhumvit. And because of the close living quarters that they had to deal with there, it's just basically it was a complete hotbed. And it's spreading 1 in 12 people in Klong Toi, and there's like 500,000 people alone just in that Klong Toi. Let's talk about Klong Toi. Maybe I should just give you a bit of a get a map out again so you better understanding. Let's identify so I can always get lost with this map. Sama Prakran. Yeah, there it is, Klong Toi.
Get yourself out of the middle of the screen.
Yeah, and get myself out of the middle of the screen. Yeah, that's it. So that's the area that's commonly sort of called Klong Toi. Right, so that's just south of the Sukhumvit Road, which is the party area. As you see from all the hearts, all the venues that I've been to along Sukhumvit Road, all the places, it is the heart of the entertainment area. So the lower class slums, that's around here to the waterfront. You'll find the lower class slum area, and they work all over the city. These people, they go from, g'day Robert. They go from, they sleep here and they work all over the city, and they basically get around on public transport because it's the cheapest way to get around. Not when I say public transport, I talk about the bus system. They don't usually take the BTS or the MRT because that's more expensive. They can get from here to work for 10 baht. Anywhere in the city for about 10 baht. Depends if they've got if they got one of those little bus tickets. I think they can actually go. Pretty much the whole city for virtually no money. But they work all over the city. They've caught it from the entertainment areas, they brought it home, and then they spread it all over the city. Interestingly enough, it all seems to be contained this side of the river. But again, this is where the work is. The other side of the river, we tend to find that they don't venture west. I don't know why, but it's almost like that river becomes a barrier in some respects. I know we had a sort of a bunch of cases here out at there's a wet market along here. I think at Bangkok there's the market area here. They had the sort of mini outbreak here when the Samak Prakran one happened, but they managed to get on top of that. Because it sort of is a wet market, and it's only active during certain times, and once they sprayed the area, right, they pretty much contained it. It's this one here, but unfortunately this one here, because it's such a widespread area with people mingling across the entertainment zones and bringing it into the dormitories, it festers at night. It's like it just got out of hand. But anyway. G'day David, UK variant fueling Thailand outbreak. Also bad in Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Indonesia, Western countries that have the vaccine wealth need to pull out the stops and help the Southeast Asia. Well, that would be, in a perfect world, David, this is what should be happening, but it's not going to happen. Unfortunately, the nationalistic approach that everybody has with this crap, right? Where first? We're instead of seeing it here. As I said, I was trying to looking for the articles talking about what we're good dealing with. Right. So for the last 2 weeks, we've had an up and down. Foreigners are not going to be included, right, by one sector of the government. So foreigners are not being even considered in their vaccine rollout, which really has not happened. They're not being considered at this stage. Then, of course, we had a retraction of that information earlier this week. The fact that foreigners will be considered in that rollout, in the overall general rollout. And then I saw an article, I don't know whether it's here or it's in NT. They've just done somebody. That's right. Just let me see if I can find it. It was on my line group. Let me just go to my line group. Line group. Come on, there we go. Bangkok group. So Bangkok posts. I think this is it here. Yeah, so Thailand says foreigners can register for vaccination. We called they can't. So although the government has said yes, foreigners will be included, they checked with 12 hospitals yesterday, and all 12 of these facilities within Bangkok said, no, sorry, you can't. Even if you're over 60 and you have the Thai, the pink ID card, which I have, you can't register for it. So the government says one thing and the hospital says, no, sorry, you can't. So there's a complete, what they call snafu, situation normal, all fucked up, yeah. This is the way Thailand runs, you just got to deal with it. It is a bit of a joke at the moment, not much, not else we can say about it, it's the whole bullshit that we're going to deal with here. This is a simple thing. First you've got to get the vaccine here. Right? Why has there been the delay? That has just been a complete stuff up. Why has the vaccine not been delivered? Right? It's obviously got to do with graft or something. Somebody's not being paid to do the right thing or whatever, or they're not getting paid, so they're not pulling their finger out. They've got better things to do. Who knows? It's just an absolute joke. It really is. But yeah, I think Thailand's becoming or it will become the laughing stock of the world again. With their total mismanagement of the whole situation, and this Phuket deal, yeah, that's just simply not going to happen. We'll get to the photos in a minute. I thought I'd just go through the photo album in a minute. Bill talks. What's that? I want to return to Thailand, but no queue. Yeah. I had somebody ask me today. Australians. I'm sure that Australians still can't get out of the country, although Martin got out. But the thing is, Martin came to Thailand on a business visa, an OB visa, to set up business. He was obviously allowed to from that point of view, I believe. Bill Gates talks about how a wartime effort is needed, yet releasing vaccine patents is not beneficial. Very odd. Yeah, I know. Well, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to sort of, like, there's already data out there of fake vaccines being administered. By saline solution being shot up. People trying to jump queues or jump on odd queues. This is all starting in third world countries.
It's happening here in the U.S. where people are ordering it online and getting bogus vaccines.
Yeah, so this is the thing, there has to be a certain level of administration, so the fact that you get valid vaccines, but wartime effort is what they need, and they need to release the vaccine, or they need to delist the vaccine patents, or allow it to be used by certified drug companies. Can you produce it? Then okay, you don't have to pay the fees or something like that. I don't know. There's some sort of, who knows? I would just like things to get back to normal. Things are going along normal here. We're building a house. all that really gets in, you know, me and Chanya had an argument, you know, this week. I think it was Wednesday. I was coming home Wednesday, was it? It was just, we were just at we were at the 7-Eleven. We'd just come back from doing my change of address shit, you know, saw the video, and we stopped at the 7-Eleven, and it was just one of those sort of things. We're just all we're so bent out of shape with this bullshit, right? I just put the number in because, like, you know, when you go to 7-Eleven, you use your 7-Eleven number. You know, there's a number you press in, which calculates your discounts and so on and so forth. That, you know, she goes on her account. Rather than pick the stuff up off the counter, which I would have expected to think, you just paid for it. You pick the stuff up off the counter. She insisted that I wash my hands with the what they call it, the sanitizer that's on the counter, because I pressed the button on the keys on the little keypad. That was more important that I did that than actually pick up the goods, right, that we just paid for. And I just said to her, darling, look, just don't get in my face about this bullshit washing your hands crap. I know when my hands are clean and everything else, and like the amount of vaccine, basically just blew up into an argument about this, that and the other. She said, you don't love me anymore. I said, I do love you. Well, yeah, anyway, it gets frustrating after a while when you sort of see this bullshit go on and people just lose focus on what's really important in their life. You know, it's become invasive, this whole vaccine bullshit, washing your hands bullshit, your mask bullshit. You got foreigners in Thailand walking around blatantly disregarding the mask rule, you know, and causing Thais to get upset. I think there was one case in Chiang Mai earlier this week, you know. But yeah, it's pushing people to their limits right now, and it's getting out of hand. Anyway, we kissed and made up, you know, after about an hour, and, you know, just got to let things defuse. But she understood where I was coming from. I understood where she's coming from. She's worried. Of course, she's worried because, you know, of her, I suppose you'd call her, that umbrella banner she falls into medically. Because, you know, she's had, you know, procedures and everything else. She, in one sort of sense, you could classify her as a high risk group because of all the medical interventions she's had throughout her life. You know, the different hormones and so on and so forth probably does put her in a higher risk group than somebody who has completely sort of distanced himself from the medical fraternity. So I understand where she's coming from. She now understands the fact that, you know, we're all pushed to our limits. We're all effectively in lockdown. You know, of course, it doesn't really seem like it. We're getting out in the street. We go and do this. We go to the markets. We go and do everything. But, you know, it's just the Thai smile, or, you know, the happy Thailand that we're all used to, right? Only so many people can keep up the fake smile for so long. It's starting to push everybody to their limits. Everybody just wants to get back to normal, and I think that's another reason why we're seeing this outbreak in Bangkok, is the fact that people have just had their fill of the bullshit and the inadequacy of the government. That's all there is to it, you know. It's why it's taking so long for people to get organised when we knew about this thing 12 months ago and they saw what happened in China. Why hasn't that been replicated around the world, right? We did replicate it to a certain degree here. Thailand was one of the first countries to go into lockdown, you know, because they got inside story from China. But then, of course, it created a false sense of security because we kept the numbers to a bare minimum. But of course, you know, then we had this this thing here in Myanmar with the military bullshit. So, you know, people in Myanmar couldn't do work over there, so they run across the border to try to feed their families. You know, it's so humanitarian, but, you know, why wasn't the government keeping an eye on that? That's a no-brainer. That's going to go on. People are going to go and jump the border. What are you going to do about it? Stop the border crossing. Then, of course, it starts, and, you know, we're dealing with it, and it's outbreaking over there. It's just like a complete snafu. Anyway, I want to drop the subject because it just makes me freaking cross. What are you doing? Sleep? You falling asleep?
Huh?
Huh? I heard somebody snoring.
What?
I heard it.
Are you still talking? Holy shit. Is it 9 o'clock yet?
Is it right? Okay. Let me see. What did we miss there? Tim Briney, g'day too, and Bill Gates for the funded plan. Yeah, okay. Well, I think you'll have to wait a while. Yeah, maybe 22. Yeah. I think people have been asking me, can they come to Thailand? Look, sort of people are planning. I know sort of psychos. Did you book your flight yet, Psycho?
I am doing it tonight.
You're doing it tonight, so people can come to Thailand. It's just one of those sort of things. There's a bunch of hoops to jump through.
Oh yeah, no, and it's aggravating because it's like, do I have to book my flight first, or do I have to sign up for the visa first, or do I have to get the COE first? So you have to start the visa, and then before you finish your visa, this is for the TR visa, you have to book the flight, because then the last page of filling out the TR visa requirements is flight information and stuff. So you have to fill that out with the flight information. Then you have to get the COE, and then it's a crap ton of stuff.
So somebody asked me about this when I got my OA visa in 2016. That's something that was not actually on the paperwork in August. In August, when I actually went to the embassy, got the paperwork. The whole flight information was non-existent on that paperwork. I was able to sort of because I didn't actually book my flight until after I got the visa. But from what I understood, and within sort of 12 months of that, sort of me getting my visa, then it was added to that OA visa as well. You got to book a flight before they approve your visa. How does that work? What happens there if they disallow the visa?
You better get a refundable flight, I guess, or a changeable flight, which will cost you quite a bit more depending on the airline.
That's exactly.
Singapore's pretty decent though. I gotta say, so premium economy in Singapore Airlines, just regular, is I think $1,049 from LA to Bangkok. To get a refundable one, which means you get all but $200 back, that is $1,079. So normally there's a huge price difference in between those two costs. So it's not that bad right now.
Yeah. So Chris Brown is asking me which company. So it was actually done through SCB Bank. They were the ones. They were the office that was administering or doing all the collection of the money. But it's actually, look into this page, it's called Deves Insure, DEVES Insurance. The paperwork's all in Thai. I tried to work out this, what we paid. I think it's 2,100 baht or something. I think it's 2,400 baht. So it's 800 baht each was our policy. And that gives you 100,000. Tier 1 was 100,000, tier 2 was, I don't know whether we got tier 1, tier 2 or tier 3. It's all in Thai. I'm thinking we've only got tier 1, which means that the policy covers up to 100,000 in medical bills or something like that. But at least there's something better than nothing. I think stupid ordering medications, especially vaccines online. Yeah, but I said,
yeah, but you're right. It is stupid to order something like that. We had one guy here just lost $650,000 of his Bitcoin because he signed up for an application that he thought was the Bitcoin company. It turned out to be a scam, and they cleared his accounts. $650,000 gone in an instant.
I think, so I was watching, so there's one of the guys, one of our Thailand vloggers here, which is I can't remember his name, Is it Fraser? Yeah. Is it the ones on his page? Yes, had a few. He said on his phrase on his it is public, so it's all cool. Had a few friends get crypto scammed recently, and had lots of newbies getting involved in the industry. I thought I'd make a post to help prevent you getting scammed. The first scam is about fake Chinese government crypto. Articles are pumped around Facebook about China launching government crypto. The articles had some truth in it, but it is mainly full of lies and contains a link to where you can go buy this crypto. It's fake. Never buy crypto from a link on a sponsored article on Facebook or from any article for that matter. Do your own research and buy crypto from well-known exchanges. Another scam going around YouTube is a video ad showing someone like Elon Musk or Bill Gates talking about crypto and asking for your private keys so they can send you free crypto. Never send anybody your private keys regardless of...
Wait a second. Okay, just so in case I'm not mistaken, because I'm just starting to learn about this. I just got my wallet a few days ago. But if I'm not mistaken, aren't your private keys, like, you never give that out, and what you give out are the public keys if somebody's going to send to you, right?
But people aren't intelligent, right? The people who are jumping on the crypto, look, there is obviously legitimate cause and reasons to jump on the crypto. You know, the prices continue to go up. It bounced down to 49,000 last week, and it's back up to 56 on BTC. But yeah, so there are legitimate reasons that to jump on the bandwagon, because it's in my sense it's a Ponzi scheme. There's no tangible product outside the product itself, which defines it as a Ponzi scheme. The more people that get involved now benefit the people who were in the scheme before, which is the pure definition of a Ponzi scheme. There is no product.
Well, I got into it a long time ago and got out of most of it when it went up.
It is, in every sense, it is the perfect definition of a Ponzi scheme. There is no product apart from the product itself. Right? We've heard, like people being scammed by Amway distributors, for the last 50 years. And they've been trying to have Amway shut down for 50 years. Trying to sort of cite it being a Ponzi scheme that people at the top make the most money. But there is a product inside Amway that gets distributed, and the money that's made within Amway is only based on how much product is moved through that distribution system. There's a product tangible to the actual company. Where's the product in Bitcoin? Right? It's a faith.
Power.
Yeah. That's right.
Computing power.
Well, they're using power, yeah, and of course, like some countries, their power bill is going. Their power production, 10% of their power production in the country now is dedicated to mining frickin' cryptocurrency.
I mean, okay, would you rather have your money in fiat currency that they just can print at whim?
Well, that's the thing. This is the other side of the argument, isn't it? That's the other side of the definition of the argument. Well, what is the fiat currency? It used to be based on gold, right? And I know a few countries have tried to reintroduce the gold standard, unfortunately to no avail, because it's just not going to work. Unfortunately, the way we've got with the population growth and everything else, right? There's only so much limited gold production in the planet, But yeah, so there's work done to produce gold. There's no work done to produce fiat currency. But don't forget, a fiat country is not a currency. It is a debit. It's a credit ledger, right? Based on work performed by the average person, right? So that's it, like you do work and then you make credit in that bill that you can then buy goods and services based on the same equalizing currency, which is a fictitious thing, right? But where we got fiat currency is acceptable because it's governed, whereas, as I said, I still can't go and buy some Bitcoin and then go out and go to 7-Eleven and buy my freaking coffee for 50 baht.
Apparently, it depends on what country you're in. Like, there's some places in the Caribbean that use Bitcoin Cash pretty regularly. So, I mean, it kind of depends.
Yeah.
And at least with cryptocurrency, you are in control of your money, unlike with fiat money, unless you've printed it. I mean, not printed it, unless you've actually taken out and you have cash that's sitting there that is only going down in value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just one of those sort of things. Until when a cryptocurrency, right, which is, the thing that the issue I've got with the Bitcoin is the fact that they've had two primary forks in their currency, because the fact that when you have one country having more than the rest of the world, they can control the currency, right? The whole idea of Bitcoin was supposed to be decentralized, but so currently I think the numbers now sort of say that 65% of Bitcoin is owned by China, right? So it's not decentralized. It is decentralized, 35% of it, is held by other countries, but 65% of the freaking Bitcoin currency is held by China, right? It's not decentralized. That's where it all fell apart. But again, so China got on top of the curve, and it's probably cheaper to produce it over there because they burn coal as opposed to other fuel sources and things like that. I don't know. Maybe their electricity is cheaper or something like that. But again, you got 1.2 billion people in China as well. So they got the population density that doesn't really match anywhere else around the world, and they got people that work in these sweatshops for cents in the dollar. This is how China really took the world with everything that they did, because it's effectively a slave labour. Such is the world. But until we get to a cryptocurrency, which is something that you can hold and you can control, and you can walk down to the local 7-Eleven or somebody on the street and say, here's 50 baht, I want your bananas, right? It'll never be accepted. That's it. It's never going to take off, right? People here in 30% of the Thai population still have, Nokia 3110 phones, and you're not going to change that. The average Thai can't afford a smartphone to carry with them. They don't have credit cards. It's a cash-based society, right? And again, I think they're legislating here currently in Thailand the fact that they're bringing all this Bitcoin trading now must be done in person, or something like that. I was reading this week. What was it? Somebody put it in a little group. Bitcoin school. There we go. So, yep, we'll open that one there. This one here we were talking about earlier, Bitcoin magazine. In-person ID checks to become mandatory for Bitcoin exchange users in Thailand. Right, so, in-person ID checks. The whole idea is supposed to be decentralized and electronic, but they're bringing in legislation, the fact that you have to do all this trading in person.
I have no idea how they're going to enforce that.
It's just so out there. It's just like people are dreaming up all this shit all the time. Things will stabilise in a few years, and people will get a grip at some stage. But right now it's a total joke. I would like to jump on the bandwagon if I understood more about it. I think we've been talking about that privately. I would jump on. I have got a Coinbase account, but I haven't done anything with it. But the point is that there's just so much to learn about it, and what do you do? David has been doing his best to try to teach me, but when he starts talking about it, I can take in about maybe 5 minutes of information, but it's just there's so much to learn. David does.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, David's got some Bitcoin, but he's not he's not trading in Bitcoin. That's like that's sort of in holding because it continues to have a saleable value. But most of his trading is done on altcoins.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. It seems like most people are holding Bitcoin because it's basically going up at a stable, well, arguably stable when you look at long-term rate. So most people are viewing that as gold, and you don't want to. There's lots of companies, like the worst thing that you can do is buy it on PayPal, because you buy it but you can't move it off of PayPal, so you have it stuck there, and then they're like, oh yeah, you can pay your bills in it. Well, you know what that does? If you pay your bills, use it, or you pay for something using your Bitcoin and PayPal, it basically it's basically forcing you into a short-term capital gains tax situation. It's just a terrible idea. So whatever you do, don't use PayPal to buy your Bitcoin, because you won't control it.
Yeah. So Williams was saying, I think gold is always a safe bet for investment. One of my friends on Facebook, he loves Thailand, but he's living in the Philippines right now. He sent me this silver price. Silver price stood at 27.05 per troy ounce, and here's the estimate of what silver's going to do in the next 10 years. Right. So like gold and silver. These are products that they dig out of the ground, I think. But again, silver, they tried to bring in a silver standard in America 100 years ago, and that failed because the West Coast had more silver deposits than the East Coast. Is that right? From what I understood. So the silver standard never really took off. But right now, still, there is 2021 year end. That's a 21% growth on the silver exchange. Right, and they're expecting a 52% growth if you bought, in 2020. So, yeah.
But that's just guessing.
But yeah, well, basically this is saying mid-year, right?
It's like saying, okay, I'm going to buy pork bellies this month, and in 3 months the pork bellies are going to go up.
Yeah, no, it's all speculation, I'm still an index, I'm an index fund aficionado, person, right? William Buffett index funds, that's where my money is, and I'm happy to keep it there because, there is a certain level of, when you look at 100 companies, right? They all want to succeed, right? They all are publicly listed, right? They want to do their best to continue to succeed, so they're making decisions, and because it's a group of companies, and your money is your investment is distributed across that group, you're getting a more stable growth. That's how they work. But again, even those have taken a bit of a shot in the arm over the last 12 months. But my investment portfolio has stabilised, and it's starting to show again consistent growth over the last 6 months, because the worst of the panic is over. The stock exchanges stopped panicking, but again the stock exchange is still unbalanced. But again, the investment of these index funds seem to be a little bit more of a safe bet. I bet on companies as opposed to fiat currency. But who knows? We can guess. So Chris Brand. So let's say approximately 3,000 hospitals and the likes. Times are approximately 400 beds per hospital. I don't know I probably missed what the point was on that one.
Somebody was saying that they were having difficulty finding beds.
Oh yeah, this
all the beds were taken up.
I think this is something that we've been talking about here on Richard Burrows. He's a good. You can follow him on Facebook or on Twitter. Was it today's number? So the highest number dead today. Well, was 27 dead yesterday. 7th of May, 8th of May. What is today? Today is the 8th of May. So I don't so today is the 8th. So what? 19 dead today. Well, I think that must be the numbers from yesterday, and that's how they can list it in the morning today, because today is not over. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
They're reporting the days from
the
numbers from the day before.
Was it the PMI's huge vaccine stockpile? The Prime Minister Chanya has vowed to procure up to 200 million COVID-19 vaccine doses to prepare for unforeseen emergencies. They talk about procuring 200 million, but they haven't even got the stuff that they've already procured. You know, it's just, what are they trying to approve there? Capital needs beds for COVID cases, capital needs beds per COVID cases soar. The government is scrambling to find more beds for COVID-19 patients with severe symptoms as the new cases in Bangkok exceed 500 on a daily basis. So our numbers in Bangkok are exceeding 500 cases per day. Phuket to reopen as planned. That's a joke. That's just not. Simply, that is not going to happen. Right? Anybody betting, you can bet on. I think you've got a better chance of betting on Bitcoin than Phuket reopening. The government to cut fine on face masks. No, they need to put the fine up on the face masks. Oxygen supplies from Their Majesty's King and Queen to other relief items to be donated to COVID patients loaded into Royal Thai Air Force Airbus 340-500 for humanitarian mission to. So they're trying to also help out India. What was the one I saw today last week as well? I should have saved this one. The Australian government Australian embassy has said the Australians living in Thailand are getting no help from Australia, from the Australian embassy or Australian official channels. They've flatly sort of said nothing is being done for Australians living in Thailand. We're not providing vaccines for people living here on long-term visas. Yet, in the same breath, they just allocated 2.5 billion relief fund being paid to Thailand, right, to help deal with Thais and the Thai situation. So the Australian government has said, no, Australians living in Thailand are going to get no help, but yet they freely give 2.5 billion, in funds to Thailand for Thailand to help Thai people. This is our Australian government for us. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what they're doing. But yeah, so it just gives you an idea. I think I'm going to stop paying taxes. You're not going to help me, I'm not going to pay my taxes. Send the police after me. Fucking useless.
Well, you talk to people like Nomad, don't talk to them, but watch their videos like Nomad Capitalist, and they're, saying get citizenship in other countries that actually do something for you.
Well, how do you do that? I would like to know how I can get citizenship in another country. What happens there? Like I'm currently in this country here,
And that's the unfortunate thing about Thailand is that it's relatively difficult to get citizenship.
Yeah, well, I said you won't get citizenship, as Sonny sort of said. Like the paperwork does exist that you can do it, right? It's a long, convoluted process. First you've got to be in Thailand for 3 years on a long stay visa. Then you can apply for what they call permanent residency. It is a visa stamp in your passport, which can get transferred for passport renewals, right? It's a process. I think we talked about it earlier this week. There is a defined process. There's only certain categories of people that will be accepted. Right now, I can't be accepted because they don't recognize. If me and Chanya got married, right, it would be nothing because it's not a legal marriage. Once they legalise our gender situation for being a partnership marriage, then I would be able to apply for permanent residency, that's first step is the fact that a spousal relationship is one of the criteria. That would probably get me through the door or through the first appointment. But the second appointment is you've got to speak, read and write Thai, and I think recite the national anthem, right? If you can do all that, then of course you can get permanent residency. There's a stamp in your passport which gets transferred or updated with your passports. It allows you to freely leave the country and come back again, and all that sort of stuff, and you no longer have to deal with the 90-day check-in bullshit. They still want to know where you are from, but I think that's on a yearly basis. I think there's still a yearly, update of that situation, but it's called permanent residency. After 5 years on a permanent residency, you can then apply for citizenship. I've yet to actually meet somebody who has actually successfully done the citizenship route, or find legitimate sources of information to say that that's what I got, because a lot of people confuse permanent residency with the Thai citizenship. There is a defined line item in their constitutional agreements that you can get citizenship, and I think it's there simply because the fact that the Thai people in Australia can get citizenship. Right, there is something in Thailand. It's a bipartisan agreement. It's very easy to do it for a Thai going to Australia, but for an Australian going to Thailand, it's just a non-event. I think it's really there to satisfy special dispensation for the royal family and their friends. It's there. Then of course, if you know the royal family, then it can be sanctioned by royal decree. The fact that you can become a citizen. That's about all the only way I'd ever sort of see it ever happening for the average person. So, but again, what does it get you?
Well, apparently it's based off of some sort of point system. They were actually talking about it on the Bangkok podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It was about 2 months ago. They had an episode on that. I found it really interesting, and actually, like from what they were saying, and it was a Thai guy that was talking about it. I think he was like Thai and maybe American, and he was saying that depending on how many points you have in other categories, you may not actually have to even speak Thai.
Oh, there is in the interview. There is an interview that is conducted in the Thai language. There you go. You sit around a table. I've actually sort of spoken to somebody who's been through this process, and you are invited into like a chat room, and there's 4 or 5 officials there, and they just basically are going to ask you why you want to be a permanent resident of Thailand. But they're asking you, in Thai, in the Thai language, and you've got to basically have a conversation. You've got to have conversational level Thai with these people, right? Using English won't float, right? And of course there'll be some things that there'll be bits of paper that you read, right, relevant to just the whole thing. Here, Roberts is saying, in my 40 years coming here, he's only met 10 Farang who have become Thai citizens. I'd question that one, Robert. Are they sort of saying a citizen or are they permanent residents? Because from what I've come across is people who have called themselves Thai citizens have actually only attained the permanent residency status. They're actually not Thais. They don't have a Thai ID card, unless of course they've got Thai Thai heritage. Like I think there's sort of if your grandparents were Thai and you moved to Australia and an Australian citizen, you can come back and you get Thai citizenship based on your heritage, right? That's about the only thing I've ever heard of to become Thai citizen. Like there's people actually born in Thailand up in the north, like the Karen people. They're not even on the books in Thailand, but they're Thai citizens. They live born in Thailand. They can't even get citizenship. The only ones that are really sort of, there was a process that they got to go through. But those guys that got trapped in the cave a couple of years ago, half of those kids were not Thai citizens, and there was a special decree given to allow them to attain citizenship because of their ordeal, right? But that was a special, what they call a decree, come down from high up to say, bypass the red tape and make these children Thai citizens, because they are Thai, they're just born in Thailand, but basically they're just non-registered Thai people, being up in the hillland tribes of the Karen people up in the north there, they live in Thailand, they're born and bred in Thailand, but because there's no computer system up there to track them, they can't get ID cards. This is how it works here in Thailand. Just got to get used to it. Actually, just look at 57 viewers. What's our numbers like, Oggy? How many likes we've got? I'm going to do a refresh of that page. It says 0 likes, 14 likes, and 57 people watching. Oh my God, that's it. I'm quitting. I haven't even sort of.
My screen only says 2.
It's not refreshing here. I don't believe the MSN with their false news. I never believe rumours or hearsay. Best to wait until they have definite news and appropriate sources. I think you've got to, once you stay, I'm a bit the same way with them. Any news source, I've got to see it from independent sources, all sort of agreeing to the same thing. I think once I find it from 3 independent sources, I might take it with take it on board as being something that's happening. But this situation about the on again, off again foreigners getting the vaccine, that has been the funniest thing I've seen. Every side of the government, having a different story. Anyway, so let's say a big hello to a few. Mark Verdun, Buzzer Bear, XNLO, the BW, Sharky Sharpie, I think we said hello to Robert, Paul Apps, thanks for joining. I've got a few extra names there, a few people that not seen before. Good to have you along, of course. What are we looking at? But not impossible, Robert. Yeah, so, I would like to shake hands with somebody who is a foreigner, born in a foreign country, has foreign heritage, and then show me their Thai ID, Thai citizenship. Then I would happily shake their hand and sort of, how did you manage it, and get their inside story on how it was done. But it seems to be sort of very, very. I just think people just don't see the value in it. To become a Thai citizenship, to become a Thai citizen. Considering the fact that they allow you to come here, at the age of 50 and be apart from a yearly check at the immigration centre.
And that's really my theory behind it, is that it's easy enough not to, for a lot of people, that it's not really worth doing for them. And I'm not ridiculing them on that. I'm just saying, like, each person has their own decision to make regarding it. And so I am really of the mindset that, and we'll see how that works when I get there, but I'm going to try to go down that path if possible. But we'll see. Yeah.
So Robert says they have Thai passports, but do they have the Thai ID card? That would be my question. Because they are different offices, right? Passport is completely separate from their Thai citizenship, Thai ID. As you say, photo's white. So even there's a photo of Chanya from yesterday, day before, yeah. So she had her Thai ID card updated to Nakhon Pathom yesterday. So even that has to get transferred from province to province. So she did that yesterday. That was just a walk in, show one card and you get another card. It's all easy. It takes 10 minutes. Go and take your photo and then it gets printed and run off. But so. Me on the other hand, so currently I can't transfer my Tabian barn right now because the guy, it actually has to be signed out of the AMFOR in Phnom Penh. So my yellow book, I get a special form from the head honcho in the Phnom Penh office, but he's currently working from home because of COVID. So because he's working from home, he can't do that exit interview to give the paperwork that I need to then take to the Nakhon Pathom office, which would then allow me to get the Tabian Barn Yellow Book on Chanya's blue book, which she's got. That's the blue book. The same again. So she's got that blue book, yellow and Thai ID card. So I'm still officially listed on an address in non-chem. How does that work? I don't know. It's just the way that shit works over here. So. But yeah, so we got to wait until these people. We've got a phone number. We just got to check every week when's he going to come back to work, and then once we know he's back in the office, we'll make an appointment to go and see him. And it's, from what I understand, it's fairly straightforward. He gives the exit paperwork, which we then take to the new office. I get a new ID card made up, a new yellow book made up, and then that one gets destroyed because I'm living here. It will happen, but it's just this COVID shit's just causing a little bit of an issue. It didn't actually stop me from doing the whole checking in at the. I don't know. Did I take any photos of the?
Did you break an outlet already?
No, that was they've had that fixed. This is where was it? Yeah, this one here. It basically it's just a bad fitting. So. That was part of the argument we had on Wednesday, was the fact that you're all worried about the COVID and washing your hands. I've been asking for 2 weeks for somebody to come and fix this socket, which I keep on pulling off the wall and putting back in the retainer. Right, finally they came out after they came. She went across the road, talked to them. Right, we had a guy here. 20 minutes later, he was actually changing that whole socket. Again, this is so Thai. It's so Thai. It really is so Thai. He didn't even turn the breaker off downstairs. He just basically comes in, just undoes it, puts the live in the new socket, puts the neutral in the new socket, puts the earth in the new socket. Didn't turn anything off. I'm not going anywhere near you. If you put char marks on my floor, you can have somebody else clean it up, because I'm not cleaning it up. He didn't quite understand.
If you're good enough at the job, I guess it doesn't matter.
But he actually understood what I was saying, right? And he thought it was quite funny. He actually spoke a good bit of English, So it was just one of those funny things. You had this bee there, and again another one of these candid situations you would love to catch on video. Just that.
I'm the same way.
What, you would do the same? You would change that socket out when it was live. Like again, I wouldn't.
I do it all the time.
I wouldn't. Look, I know it can be done, and I've seen Sparkies do it all the time. But
I've lit myself up once or twice, and it's like, okay, that felt good.
Anyway, so that has been fixed. Yes. While we got the photo album open, so what have we got? What was the photos? That was Saturday. So we took Mother out for dinner on me pulling faces on the camera. Our cat in her cat box.
Warren was being mean to his cat yesterday.
I was not.
He would not let it come into his computer room.
That's it. Get out, cat. Chanya's still looking for the ultimate, bed for our room. It's
I bet you're going for the soft.
My going like I've got to live with this pink room. I'd go better for that colour, but dark colours don't really work. But
hey, if it's comfortable, who cares?
Yeah, I'm going to sleep in it. Yeah, this is our live-in, foster child. What else we got?
She doesn't look happy, and the cat looks upset too.
Yes, so this is. We talked about this in the video. I think in the last video, I think I show you a bit of a shot of it. Putting the sliding doors between what they call the stairwell and kitchen dining area, and the lounge room. So this sliding partition, it actually sort of it creates a separation. And of course, it means with the air conditioner, you're only when you turn that air conditioner on, you're only cooling that room down there, and that's really the guest room, or the entertainment room, and it'll have the wall unit there.
Oh yeah, actually that looks pretty good. Yeah,
I agree. I think it looks really good.
Yeah, normally my instant gut reaction is like, don't create more doors, like leave things open, but that actually looks good.
Well, that's just because you stumble through them drunk. Oh.
So it's three. It is three ways. It'll actually slide both ways to two partitions, so it goes left or right, or you can have a left and right and leave them sitting in the centre. So it pulls out, So it gives us, it still leaves a decent sort of gap in the stairs. And
that might actually hit you when you're drunk if you go through that.
Well, it's fairly dark. I think it's just the lighting behind there doesn't look as dark as it is, but the glass is fairly dark, so I'm quite happy with it. This is something that she's been asking me, what do we want to put it as a photo collage thing on the wall? Of course, this is America, it's not Australia. She wants some sort of Australiana. So this is a special request. Everybody on the channel here, hit me up on if you can come up with an idea for like the photo sort of stuck. That's one example of that Rocky Mountains there. She's got there was another one she had there. So there was some more. Give you some ideas that she's something like this. There's peacocks. She wants something to go in the lounge room. I think we've got 2.5 meters wall to. She just wants something picturesque, but she wants Australiana. And originally it was going to be sort of opera house.
Yeah, I was going to say, that seems like it'd be the most iconic.
But the opera house was designed by a Dutchman. He didn't even have Australian citizenship. How can you call that?
That's in a way very Thai, considering the Mahanakan was not designed by a Thai either. So there you go. You can both have iconic buildings that were not designed by people of that country.
Is that right? Okay. But yeah, we are looking for something that does, like I haven't even gone looking yet. I don't know what you would put there. Like, if I was to think of something very Australian, I would think of from the water between Garden Island and looking across the vista of Sydney. So you might have a bit of the Opera House in there and a bit of the Harbour Bridge together, but you'd have something like that. Now I don't have anything high res that I could have made up. So if somebody's got something in like a 64 megapixel or bigger image of a sort of a landscape view across Sydney Harbour, it's very hard to try to describe. I haven't even gone looking yet. I suppose if I actually went to Google Images, Google Maps, Google search, go to Images, Sydney Harbour.
Google Earth.
Something like that would be, my idea of Australiana. It's got the Opera House, it's got Sydney Harbour, it's got Sydney as a whole vista. That would be my idea of something very Australian. But just having something just alone, the Harbour Bridge alone or the Opera House alone really doesn't float with in my worldview, But yeah, I need something. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of. I haven't even gone. This is the first time I've been bothered looking there.
What that one, that kind of gold toned one there?
The gold tone one. This one here. Oh, this one. No, it's still wrong.
That one.
Which that one there, or you were looking at my live stream on the Discord?
Yeah, the back one. You didn't like that one, huh?
Yeah. No, that's still too iconic. That's more my idea of, that again would be more my idea of, showing Sydney for what it really is, but it really doesn't it doesn't bring in the whole of Australia, as an image. It's very hard to really pick something that would be encapsulates Australia as a whole,
Not gonna have any kangaroos or koalas?
Well, Australia, kangaroos are a
I mean,
pest.
it's such a large country. How could you do it as a whole with a picture of Sydney? I mean, it'd be like trying to say that you're gonna, do a Americana thing and do a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge. I mean, that's just San Francisco. It's very American, but.
Again, Shutterstock. But again, all these sort of things aren't really. That's very Australian. It doesn't really sort of give you the whole multicultural. The whole multicultural, everything Australia. What would be
just put an Australian flag on the wall. That's Australiana.
Yeah. That doesn't really sort of describe Australia. Nothing really gives you, like, you see, it is so diverse in everything you do. You got Sydney Harbour is the centre of Sydney commerce, but 95% of Australia is 95% of Australia is that, but not even that. That's just a basic idea.
Barbecue and beer picks. There we go. How about the burger with the beetroot on it? That'd be very Australian.
And we don't have a national cuisine apart from the barbecue is probably as close as we're ever going to get. So again, how do you really sort of create something there that that would encapsulate all that? The only thing I can come up with is a whole image of the Sydney Harbour from the ferry somewhere, the water view, or that sort of thing, looking across, capturing the harbour bridge, capturing the Opera House, capturing the skyscrapers, North Sydney and South Sydney, the whole separation of the two Sydney areas. That would be my idea of the picture of Sydney, but again, finding something that's high resolution, which we could have made up into our own print. Unless, of course, somebody wants to jump on a Sydney ferry, go to Manly, halfway there, turn around and look at Sydney with a high resolution image, 64 megapixel camera, and just send me the image. I'll have it made up here. Got to be landscape.
Just send Stephen out with Polaroid.
Polaroid? No, Polaroids aren't high enough image. But yeah, so we are looking for that, and anybody in Sydney, if you're out there and want to do that, send me something. Be greatly appreciated that we could have something. It's got to be high res, because when they blow these images up, I really doubt that they'd ever get the quality we'd want on it. But I think if we had at least 64 megapixel or bigger, we'd have a good chance. But make sure it's like a good landscape view that we could, make that that typical, that sort of style where you get the tall and the wide sort of image, so we can break it up and have it made up for it. It's going to cost a few $1,000 to get it done, but that would be sort of fairly, that's something we could say is unique. It'll always be on our wall.
There you go. The Mad Max Interceptor. That would be a good image. Yes. The big old blower on it and everything. Hot damn.
Okay, so here's some images here of the dining suite we had. That's the collection. That's what the dining suite looks like. That's not this final location. As I said, Mother's currently taken up the space for the dining room, but that's what we're going to put in the dining room. There's the lounge suite we had.
Italian.
Yeah. There's seriously, that lounge is super comfortable. It really is super comfortable.
Oh, it's there already, huh? Nice.
Yeah,
that looks good. That looks good.
I misinterpreted what I was told. It's the actual entertainment unit that goes against the other wall. That's the one that takes a month to make up, because they have to make it up. But yeah, so that's the two parts there. the cat just that cat will just lie down anywhere. I'm sure it was a dog in a previous life. It really was. But yeah, it's a super comfortable lounge suite. And of course, this wall here is where that photo image will go. She's going to get some plastic plants to go in here into the gap as well, just to sort of fill the thing out. Something we talked about yesterday. She's constantly creating something. Yeah, so that was the lounge suite. It was very, very comfortable. What else we got? Yeah, so we haven't haven't organised the bed yet, but I said we're going to do the glass on the outside of the bedroom first before we do anything more there. But yeah, so anyway, I've been totally ignoring the chat that's going on, but I know the mods keep everything under control. And Johnny Siang's there. G'day Johnny, how you doing? I know Dracanis is also here, sort of listening in. Hey Drac.
Yeah.
Hey Drac.
Another new Mad Max movie? Awesome.
Sorry, I didn't catch Drac then. What was that?
Oh, I just said, hey, how's it going?
How's it going? You just dropped in to say hello as well. And of course, Sean Mark's here as well. So he's got his microphone muted, so he's all good. But anyway, what have we been talking about? V8 Ute, V8 Ute across the. Well, yeah, like I would go for not so much a V8 Ute, but the Holden Monaro, Holden HQ Monaro in Canary Yellow, right? Because I had one of those, and it was Canary Yellow. It was. If you don't know what the HQ Monaro is, let's see if we can find you for the non-Australians here. M-O-N-A, Holden HQ Monaro. Yeah.
Probably the one they brought to the States is the Pontiac.
Yeah, but mine was in Canary Yellow, not that orange. That was sort of an orange, there.
Oh, it's a goat.
Yeah, well, that's it there, the HQ Monaro. Very iconic. Oh, that's all right. Where's the photo? There we go. That's a good looking photo. Looks very much like my car. Mine actually had HJ front end on it, so it had some work done. But that's the genuine HQ Monaro GTS. Mine had a HJ front end on it, which I don't give a find a photo of it because it was a custom mod.
That guy's driving on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, so that's the HJ front end on, that's what the difference between the two of them. So, yeah, so it's finding one with that, it's going to be pretty difficult.
That's why I'm going to be stuck driving an automatic over there, Augie, if I ever move there. I can't get used to shifting with the left hand.
GTS stands for Great Truckload of Shit. Thanks, Johnny.
I swear that looks like the GTO in the US.
Well, I think it does. I think to a high degree there's a lot of similarity. Don't forget it is. Holden was General Motors, so they're a General Motors subsidiary. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of technical sharing across the ocean there. Hey Charger, I never had a Charger, but I know a friend of my father's had the Charger, so he got the Hey Charger all the time, back in the 70s.
I misread Byron's post. He says, I was just watching your latest vlog. When I saw you are live, I thought he said you are alive.
I am alive. I'm alive and kicking.
He's both live and alive.
We've had a pretty good viewership all the way along as well. We've been people. I think we peaked out at 50. We peaked out at 56, 57. There's a 57 peak somewhere along the line there. So we were keeping everybody amused there for a while when I was ranting and raving. But we've had a pretty good viewing along the way. What was it?
Robert wants to know how you did on the microwave. Did you get it
Yes. So that little what they call the circuit breaker, the earth leakage detection. When he come and fix the socket behind me, we mentioned that as well. He went down, had a look at the microwave. He sort of said, "Yep." So we went straight to the board, circuit board, and turned up to 30 amps, and it's been right ever since. I said,
so it was too much draw for the circuit.
It was just too much draw for the circuit. It was an overload protection, because it was only set at 6 amps or something like that. But typically a Thai house, I don't know why they would set it so low, but so it's still got earth leakage detection, but it's got a higher load current rating of 30 amps now. So,
right.
And yeah, it does. It's just got the Browning unit and everything else, and it works perfectly right. So that one's solved as well. So. Look, I assumed that that's what I needed to be done, but because of the fact that I didn't put the unit in, it's the first time I've had one. I'm not a Sparky. I don't know what's qualified, what's not qualified. Is it something that you're? I just don't. I tend to avoid all that sort of stuff now. I'm not a risk taker when it comes to electrical circuits anymore. I don't want to blow the whole house up after we just bought it.
Yeah. I'm a plumber, an electrician, a carpenter. It's whatever it needs to be done. I grew up on a farm.
Part of the discussion we had on Wednesday is, brought around to this thing. Have we got house insurance? And she says, "What's that?" I said, "Well, you've got a mortgage now. If the house burns down, you're still liable for the mortgage for the rest of your life, right? Well, we are liable for the mortgage. You need to have at least, what we would call a home and contents insurance policy. So if the house burnt down, right, then an insurance company will pay for it." So yeah. Until we got home and contents policy, I'm not touching electrics.
There you go. Quit burning those jaw sticks too.
Well, that's it.
You get the fire insurance.
I think I need to get an extractor fan, because what we're sort of saying, well, of course, this is the fact that the cooking will be more than likely done out in the new kitchen area, so it won't be a problem, and we'll have extractor fans there. But right now, so Mother's cooking in the kitchen downstairs, and guess where all that smell goes? Up the stairs.
Right up to your room.
So keep the door closed now.
So you don't have a range hood, or you don't have a.
Well, I haven't put one in yet. I said that range hood that I'll put in for my kitchen space will go in when it becomes my kitchen space. Mother's kitchen space moves out there, and it's complicated.
Even with a range hood, that salted mackerel and those chilies.
Well, if you have a really good range hood, sucks the doors open when you turn it on. That's what you need.
I've walked in the front door and damn near fell over before.
We're even going to the extent is the fact that you'll actually walk outside the house for that's about a 3 foot, 1.5 metre by 1.5 metre platform out there, but the actual second kitchen will start at the edge of that platform. So that platform will actually be open air. So any smells from the Thai kitchen will go outside rather than coming to the house.
That's your airlock.
yeah, the airlock. But yes, that's where we are with that. It is quite comical. But so we've had concrete. You might have seen that had the concrete base in the front there, so you don't tread dirt in through the house. But it was done
There's where I got the name for my horse.
Hmm.
Mr. Sean Pasquale.
Maybe Sean Pasquale.
Yeah, remember my horse and.
Oh, okay.
Exile?
Right. Okay.
I was like, I don't know where this came from, but I'm gonna type it in. It's like now that I see his tag up there, I go, oh, that's where I got it.
Paul in Sydney, Tirana XU1. I never had one of those. My friend of mine had an XU1. Well, actually, it wasn't an XU1. It was a custom build. It was a standard Tirana, but he put the triple side raft Webbers on it, extractors. We'd had I think a 3/4 race cam put in it. That thing was so freaking dangerous. In the wet, you could not keep the rear end on that car on the road. Even if you were idling, it just had balls. God, it was a death trap. God, did it go in the dry with, you know, it's like 12 inch wide rubber on the back. You put on a quarter mile. That thing was doing 11.5 and a quarter mile. It was absolutely a ball terror. It was absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, so it wasn't a real XU1, but God, the thing went. So Australia's divided between Ford and I. Yeah, we certainly are. Ford, what's that? Ford. Yeah, Ford crap.
US is the same way. We got General Motors, Chevy,
yeah,
and we've got Ford, and then the really diehards are Dodge fans. Mopar.
Dodge fans, Mopar is the mum and pop vehicles, are they? Dodge. When you say Mopar, what's Mopar?
Well, Mopar. That's motors. That's the abbreviation for the company that makes Dodges.
Oh, is it?
And
okay.
Mopar, that's the. They're the ones that make those, and you've got basically on the racing circuits. You got three teams. You've got Chevy, you've got Ford, and you've got Mopar. There's like 1/10 of the number of Mopars for all the others.
Well, when you said Mopar, the first thing that comes to mind here as an Australian was Mopar. Oh, Ma and Pa Kettle, like, is that the sort of thing that the parents drive and they drive Dodges?
Oh, yeah. No, Mopars are typical. Well, no. Mopar were very. The people that like Mopars really like Mopars. And Ford, we always said flip over and read directions, or found on road dead.
I see. Didn't start like I saw Joe's video this week from Joe. They had a storm down there, and he lost part of his roof. Supposedly, in the video, the roofer who put the roof on has paid for all the damage and will re-roof. Because he didn't actually have the thing bolted down, simply because of the fact that, as his excuse was, well, he had more work to do underneath the roof, so it wasn't bolted down properly. But yeah, they had a big storm down there a couple of nights ago and blew his roof off. Well, blew part of his roof off. If you check out the video yourself. Look, I'm watching Joe's videos of his house build because I'm very attuned to it. I've been through all the building part, and he's now going through it. So it's interesting to make the comparisons.
Well, his is a custom build though, too. So
yeah, I'm still thinking that apart from the place where he's got the pool, and of course that wouldn't have fit in the Australian ordinance, or they would never pass. The Australian Council would never allow a pool in the backyard like that. It's just not enough safety zone.
Where you could stumble out the door and fall into the pool, you mean?
That would never happen in Australia. But yeah, apart from that, he's got no yard to speak of at all, which
Right. That sounds perfect to me. No maintenance. Screw the maintenance, man.
To each their own, but I do like the fact that we're going to have a bit of a yard, and it's all good.
I don't know. My backyard's turning into weeds because I do the front yard and I'm like, eh.
Yeah, my park has to come by and say, you need to scrap those weeds up. It's like, okay.
John the accountant. I noticed in Thailand that Germans buy the Ford Ranger, but most Farang buy Toyota, especially the UK. I've never really.
Toyota's a better vehicle.
Toyotas have a better vehicle for the price. I think Ford tends to be a little bit overpriced, but
here Ford's the cheap one. Everything's more expensive than a Ford in the US.
I think all vehicles over here are expensive.
Yeah.
No, Australians don't manufacture anymore. I think the Holden was the last to go. They closed down the plant there in Adelaide. And so many thousand jobs lost and everything else.
Yeah, definitely, Andy. If we had all of old cars that we've had over the years, I mean, I had a '56 DeSoto V8.
My favorite car when in my younger days was my Mini. I had a Leyland 1100 Mini, so it wasn't
nice.
so it had the square front end, not the rounded front end. I put a full 1275 motor in it, which was bored out to 1310. It had a 3575 overlap cam. I had forged pistons. I had balanced crankshaft, lightened and balanced flywheel. I had the competition clutch in it. Reworked CV joints, mate. This thing here, the story I tell everybody, and it's a true story. We had just finished my 5,000 kilometre run in, so it was finally time to take it out on the expressway to really see how this thing went. So I was coming back from Gosford, which is like north of where I lived, so we're on the expressway, and I'm sort of doing like 75, 80 mile an hour, right, in the Mini. And this Ford Cobra 5.8 pulled up beside me, and no joke, he looked at his speedo, looked across at me, he sort of, gave me a thumbs up, a Mini doing 80 mile an hour on the expressway. And then I put my foot down and I just took off. Now the thing with the Leyland Mini, right, is the speedo, the pin on the speedo can't go past 110. Right, it's basically on. So I just dropped it back a gear, took it to third gear, red line third gear, started taking off. This guy in the Cobra didn't know what the fuck was going on, so he pulled up beside me again. He's looking across, he's looking at his speedo, looking at me, because the speedo, although it was sitting on 110 and wouldn't go first, I was doing 8,200 RPM on the tacho, and with the gear ratios, that meant that I was doing 122 miles an hour. He did not believe that, and of course, he looked at this, he's shaking his head. You can see him shaking his head, and then he just put his foot down and just continued to cruise because they had legs. No, I'm red line almost in my vehicle, and he just had more top end than I had, but he couldn't believe what he saw. But that was an absolute monster freaking car, and of course it was Mini, handled like it handled like a brick, handled like a brick on rails, you could take it down. But although I didn't have the best time through the gorge. We had this run. If you've lived in Hornsby or around in the area, we had this place called Gorston Gorge. I'd have to really show you Gorston Gorge. Where are we? So if I go here. And go and bring you up a map, Google Maps. Let's bring that over here again, and then I go Gorston Gorge, Gorston, New South Wales. There we go. So where are we? Hornsby Heights. Yeah. So we had, this is Gorston Gorge. So from here, which was the top of the gorge, was here. And then of course, I can't really do that. It will probably stuff up if I try to do that. To this side here, which was to here. Oh, sorry, let me get out of the screen. Yeah, so the gorge effectively started here at the top of our street here, which was where I live, and then the gorge run finished here. Which is the top of there. That was about 4.5 kilometres, and we used to do time trials, and we used to sort of do this at 11 o'clock at night, because nobody used to go to the gorge, and we would sit there with with our CB radios, and we would do a time trial through the gorge. You have these hairpin bends and all this sort of 6 hairpin bends plus the bend across the gorge. The city view might give you a better idea. But this was a time trial. You start here, go down the gorge, through the hairpins, up the other side, and it's a pretty steep climb up the other side. John Moller, in his Mini, held the best time at 4 minutes and 12 seconds. No, 4 minutes and 19 seconds. I just was not that crazy. My best time there was 4 minutes and 32 seconds. Was my best time in the Mini, but it was an absolutely incredible run. And everybody used to come and do this run. We had a grouping, we called ourselves the HDKCC. This is all our driving group and everything else. HDKCC, the Hornsby District Kill Car Club. Don't worry, it's a long story. But that's it. This is, you know, that's all we did in our, you know, in our 20s is built cars, and that was our test track. V8s didn't stand a chance through the ship. You know, you can't eat minis. I know I did.
Test track looks awesome.
It's a test. It's a test track. You got to get down and you got to sit on a view. You know, like you get down to this first bend. You know, it's you know, the hairpins are quite tight. But yeah, so you're going down this hairpin. Oh God, you can't even do the, you know, and down through these. It was an incredible run. But yeah, what you do is on our two-way radios, on the CB radios, one side is sort of say hasn't been anybody for 5 minutes, right? You know, you're clear to go, sort of thing. You know, so they know how long, or that the last car through, you know, was such and such a car, right? They'd either come through and we'd check it off at the other end. Okay, the gorge is clear. You know, the person driving, right? They've got their radio on, so they know that there's nobody on the road, right? Because there's no houses between here and the other end. So, you know, we're fairly clear. We had the whole road to ourselves, which meant the fact that we didn't have to worry about oncoming cars. We're doing this at nighttime driving with headlights and with big spotlights. You know, we had rigs of spotlights on. Oh my God, what we used to do in those days! It was, yeah, we were a little bit. You know, I don't drive like that anymore, guys. Sorry. Thank God for that.
You mean you don't have any good roadways for us in Thailand that we can go out and do time trials on?
I'm sure there are some up in Chiang Mai. I've heard of some pretty good motorcycle runs. We did that run out in the lake in Kanchanaburi, the Sisawat run, which is done by motorcycles. But it'd be a bit dangerous, like, because the fact that there's so much leaf litter on the road. Only a motorcycle could really deal with it, because cars, you know, being wider, the leaf litter on the road would be sort of hell of a thing to try to deal with. And of course, you know, it's usually done by motorcycles, at least anyway. But yeah, again, when I did that with that group, we had 12 riders or 13 riders. As me and the two cruiser bikes, we stayed behind. We went, you guys can, on your 1100s, you can do the run. No, we're just going to take it easy. But there is a video. The whole loop is done on video. It's in my archives. I don't think it's a public video. It's in the unlisted videos. So I think there's a playlist in there and does the ride out there. G'day Dallo. My wife had to sit the Australian citizenship test. I reckon most Australians wouldn't pass. Really? Of course, being an Australian citizen, I've never had to deal with it. If your child is...
I think that's the same for the U.S. citizenship test too. It's like your average citizen that, you know, that was born a U.S. citizen would never pass the test they give the people that are getting naturalized.
Oh yeah.
G'day DC, how you doing? It's another name I haven't seen before. DC, who's DC? Is it one of the people we know? So he seems to know.
I hear DC. I think Dick Clark, but you know, that's just me.
Yeah, hello DC. Cheers, Cody. I don't know whether this is a friend of yours. Anyway, used to sort of also my wife and dual citizenship for Thailand. Supposedly on the constitution, from what I read, the fact that Thais can't hold dual citizenship, but a lot of Thais have it. They just don't hand in their other citizenship, you know, or they apply for it, but they just don't tell anybody. Well, anyway, we've had a pretty good run today. It's a pretty good live stream. There's a lot of people popping in. I think it's getting towards the end of the 20 minutes to go. Yeah, so anyway, the big question is if you can find something very like Australiana, something that we can make into a big, you know, wall motif for the lounge room, it'd be greatly appreciated. You know, I just need the image. I don't have anything high res in my archives. I've got some photos of when I was up on City Centre Point Tower, but that's not what I'm looking for. And they're not high res anyway, so, but I need something at least 64 megapixel or bigger so that we can then blow up with a fairly high quality resolution, get it sort of digitized and put into one of those and made up. Chanya wants something Australia. She doesn't want anything Thailand, she wants something Australia for the house. Gotta love her. Oh, okay, so you're a long-time viewer, but second time joining the live stream. Well, it's good to have you along. This is a general informal chit-chat, me ranting and raving about the bullshit that goes on in here, or my points of view and the bullshit that goes on. We've got a few people here that join in the conversation. We usually hang around after the show's gone. But you're quite welcome to, there's a link in the description box if you can work out how to use Discord. You can come in and say hello. I tend to hold the conversation because, I don't know, I'd rather have them all chatting behind my back, you know, or talking and let them talk, so I can actually read what's going on.
Oh, we chat behind your back.
Yeah. Craig Garrison, Beerus Circuit Chonburi has a drag race. Does it? I know there's a lot of riding stuff goes on down there.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, darling. Oh, you want to come and say hello?
No. Some people come to check air.
I come to check this one.
You just on it. You just see.
Okay, come. Yeah, you can see it leaking now. And
You just see.
try to clap. Yeah, so we got a bit of the compressor or the conditioner. It's a bit too low. They're going to have to raise it another 2 to 3 centimeters. Because it actually it goes downhill and the water's collecting on the pipework there. So if you want to start now, I'm going to have to close the stream so I can get out of here. Looks like it doesn't want to work now, so I'm reluctant to get my son Thai citizen because of the army service and boys have to do. Well, when he turns 22, I think you can be pretty guaranteed that won't happen. Chris, there you go. Okay. It's probably better if I get out of the room and let the guy work and have a look at something here.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, just move that out of the way. They can move the printer a little. Looks like he's okay. Anyway,
have a good weekend.
Yeah, so let me wrap this up.
Hello.
You can't see it properly. Let me just take the filter off the back there. Go to original. Come now, darling. Come down. Come down, say hello.
Hello,
Come and say hello.
everybody.
There he is. Wait, you want to come and say hello?
I cannot talk later. Just
Later.
You can stop at first.
Yeah, okay, so let me just wrap this thing up. Let me get the closing screen. Let's get out of here so the guy can get on and do some work. See you later, people. Peace out. Have a good one, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Freak people. Have fun.
Bye.
Stay safe out there. Bye, Chanya.
เห็นหนูมีก็รู้สึกว่ามันแอนแล้วน้ำมันก็เลยออกมาอยู่ตรงนั้น
I need to get I got a few more patrons and members, so I'm going to get the patron membership page up as well. A few more on the screen there. Anyway, stay safe. Yes. Good morning. Good day, David.
Hey, David.
How's it? Just hit closing the last thing. What's the